Hey everyone, it's Jay again. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2013. I can't believe we're already into October, but we are. And I know I just made a video a couple weeks ago, but I had my follow-up today with my hepatologist regarding my liver diagnosis, my PSC. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about that. But I also did see my Jpouch nurse again since I was down at University of Chicago. She just saw me again, which is a month later basically than I saw her before. First of all, I apologize for my voice if it cracks a lot. I'm just getting over like a sinus cold thing, so occasionally it sounds like I'm going through puberty again. Anyways, let's start off with the Jpouch stuff. Things have really improved a lot, I would say, over the past couple weeks. I'm basically at the 6-month mark now for my Jpouch, and my body is probably adjusting, and I probably found a good way to get through the night without accidents, so I think it's a little bit of both. But basically, for about a week and a half, I've been pretty steady with going to the bathroom 7 times within a 24-hour period. 2 of those times are at night. I usually go once before bed, 2 times during the night, and then when I get up, of course, in the morning. But what I found is if I take an Imodium about a half hour before I eat dinner, and then I try to finish dinner by 7:30. I think it's a little later than it was before. And then I usually take another Imodium around 9:30 or 10, which is typically when I go to bed. I had probably in the past 5 or 6 nights, in the past 6 nights, I had 5 nights with no accidents. Maybe a little bit of liquid wetness, I would say, not even liquid, but no loss of stool. One night I did have a loss of stool, and I think why that is because pretty much I wake up about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I get up and go to the bathroom and then go back to bed, and then usually about 4 or 4:30. Well, one night it was like 4 or 4:30. I was really tired. I'd had 4 good nights in a row, and I was like, I don't want to get up, I feel fine, and so I went back to sleep without going to the bathroom, and I woke up about 5:30 and had a loss of stool. So I think with the 2 Imodium and making sure when I do wake up to go to the bathroom the 2 times a night, I think that is pretty much what's preventing me having any loss of stool at night. So that's a huge deal. And those Be Sure pads that I talked about, I think 1 or 2 videos ago, really are working well for me, because even if there's a little bit of wetness that leaks out, those pads that fit right between your butt cheeks basically absorb that so it doesn't stay against my skin. So I'm using the Calmoseptine much less. There's really no irritation going on my backside, which is really good. So the Jpouch nurse was glad to hear that. She reiterated again, she had done a research study herself to find out how people with Jpouches function and things like that, and she said the people that did have the hand-sewn technique, I've talked about this before, can have issues of leakage for, she said most what she found in her research was about 8 to 9 months is when things kind of turned around and you didn't have any more leakage issues. She said some did notice something about 6 months, but the majority was 8 or 9, and then she had, I think, 1 or 2 that went on to about a year before they stopped leakage. So she reiterated that, and she was going to do another, I want to call it a rectal exam, but I don't have a rectum anymore, sphincter exam, I guess, where she sticks the finger inside the sphincter just to make sure things are dilated and it's open. And I told her before she even did it, I said, I am declining your digital finger exam today. I do not want it. And she said, why not? I said, 1, because it hurts, and 2, you just did it a month ago. So I don't think I need it again. I'm not having any trouble going to the bathroom or anything. So she agreed to that and said that that was all right to hold off on. So that was a good thing. I'm going to adjust the blinds here because the sun is kind of shifting directions here. Maybe I'll just turn, yeah, we'll just turn the camera. There we go. So anyways, the bigger thing today was I followed up with my hepatologist for my PSC, my primary sclerosing cholangitis, the liver disease. And this is my annual visit with her. I had an MRI of my liver about 2 weeks ago with some more blood work taken at that time. And then today when I met her, we went over that. Basically, this was my 4th liver MRI. Again, to reiterate, in case people haven't been following all of my videos, I was diagnosed with primary sclerosing cholangitis in 2009, which is a chronic progressive liver disease that some patients with some patients with ulcerative colitis tend to get. It's a small percentage that get it, and lucky me, I'm one of the ones that has it. And like I said, it's chronic, it's progressive, there's no treatment for it, you can't stop the progression, it kind of just does what it wants. The only true cure for it is if it gets bad enough and your liver basically becomes cirrhotic to where it's not functioning anymore. If it gets bad enough, then you need a liver transplant at some point down the road. Just like ulcerative colitis, there's a huge variation in who progresses, how fast you progress. Some people progress very quickly, become very ill. Some people take years to progress, and there's no rhyme, no reason to it. They can't really tell you who's going to progress and who's not going to progress. Some of the symptoms that you can develop because it's a liver disease is itching, the jaundice or the yellow skin, the yellow eyes, the ascites. You've seen people maybe with a large extended abdomen that's fluid collection because their liver is failing. So the veins that feed the liver and the bile ducts aren't functioning correctly, so the fluid gathers in their abdomen. So those are some of the things that can happen. Basically, what they do to monitor this is blood work every 6 months to a year. I've been basically having blood work done every 6 months since my diagnosis, and they look at your liver enzymes and monitor those. And that's actually what tipped the doctors off that I may have PSC, was my enzymes went up. And then they ended up doing a liver biopsy, and that's when they found the PSC. My liver enzymes up through today, other than at initial diagnosis, have remained stable in the normal ranges. My albumin, my bilirubin, my liver enzymes, like I said, all that has remained in the normal level. And like I said, this was the 4th MRI that I had a couple weeks ago. And basically, I'll read you the report real quick. It says there's minimal irregularity of the intrahepatic biliary ducts. Intrahepatic meaning the biliary ducts inside the liver. Minimal irregularity of the intrahepatic biliary ducts, most conspicuous at the confluence of the common hepatic duct. Obviously most obvious at that point. That's an anatomical marker inside the liver. And it's similar to the prior MRI with no new dominant stricture, no suspicious focal liver lesion, and the vasculature is in check. Basically, every MRI I've had since diagnosis has said the same thing. I had my first MRI done in 2009 at Mayo, and then I had a follow-up 2 years later. One of the doctors there, Dr. Lindor, is a huge guy in the PSC research area, so I was glad I was able to get in with him when he was at Mayo. And in 2011, at my 2-year follow-up with him, he had said An MRI was performed, and now with better technology, more clearly identified changes in the intrahepatic system consistent with the primary sclerosing cholangitis, or the PSC. At that time, he said there was probably little evidence of progression. Overall, he has a very good outlook, and he recommended monitoring every 6 months of the blood levels. So basically, I feel very fortunate in the 4 years basically that I've had this liver disease that things have remained stable. There's been no progression in it. I'm part of a Yahoo group. I think it's called the PSC Support Group, and it's a little scary at times to read some of these posts and information because it does get quite serious. It can get. So one of the things I asked the doctor today is, are there people that don't progress? Like, it's been stable for 4 years, so is that a good sign? Like, oh, maybe I'll be lucky and nothing will happen. She said most people do tend to progress. Typically, it is a slow progressing disease and you treat symptoms as they come up. But of course, she did say there is outliers always. So some people don't, but it sounds like the majority of people do tend to progress. And with that, and looking at in this Yahoo support group, there's a couple people in this group that are I swear they're biochemists, they must be. And they are so on and into all the research. That's why this Yahoo group is amazing. They post articles about the latest research and where people are doing research. They talk about urso, which is a drug that's been used to treat PSC. They talk about vancomycin, which there's a lot of studies on children using vancomycin for PSC. They're trying to replicate some of those in adults. There's a couple new cutting-edge therapies that they're working on. So in this Yahoo support group, you get bits and pieces of all of this new information, which helps me have information to take back to my liver doctor and say, hey, what about this? What about this? Da-da-da, things to talk about. But they also post people's stories that are not doing well, that are progressing, that are looking for livers, that have had liver transplants. One of the posts I just read a couple days ago, I don't even know the guy, but he was 40 years old and he died. I don't even know his history, other than he had PSC, and he died because of complications from that. One of the people that I've met and become pretty close with, who had colitis, went through the whole Jpouch thing, pretty much the same time frame with me, also has PSC, just sent me an email, and some of his MRI and liver enzyme things aren't going as well as mine are, and he was just diagnosed in 2011. And it really, I know I've just dealt with all of this Jpouch and the colitis stuff, and I feel very fortunate that is good. It's taken care of. I'm very glad that I did it, because now I can kind of put that in the box and move on with that. And now, I don't want to say deal with the PSC, because you can't, there's not much to do. You just have to roll with it. But I feel like I'm glad at least that's taken care of, and now the PSC might be a little bit easier to handle. But one of the things that hearing about this gentleman who had died, and this friend of mine whose MRI and liver tests aren't doing, doesn't have the, something's happening, something's changing, I should say. It's not super terrible, but it's not maintaining the status quo. Over this past year, it's really taught me that you really need to live your life for now. And I don't mean taking crazy advantage and spending all your money and not doing responsible things, like you're not going to have a future. I'm not thinking that way. But for example, my partner and I will have been together 18 years this February, and I was going to wait till our 20-year anniversary before we went to Hawaii. And then after this year and the PSC and everything, I thought, why? Why wait till 20 years? Why not go now at 18 years? I've wanted to also learn Spanish, to become fluent in Spanish. I know a little bit through my job, through school, but I'm not really conversational, and one of my goals has always been to become fluent in Spanish. So a friend of mine and I, or someone I work with, finally bought the Rosetta Stone levels 1 through 5. We're going to work on that this winter. The plan is, to become fluent in Spanish. Something else I've always wanted to do is play the piano. I was in band in high school. I played the tenor sax, but never learned how to play piano. I have always wanted to. I feel a creativity urge, drive to be able to make my own music at some point. And so over the next year, I want to pursue learning to play the piano. And those things, I think, because of what I've been through with the ulcerative colitis, the colectomy, the ostomy, the Jpouch, the PSC on the horizon, it's kind of pushing me to make the most of life right now, because we don't know what the future holds. Like I said, things are good now. I'm in a good place. I know I seem kind of sad and a little bit emotional, but it's a good thing. It's just a realization that we're not here forever, and we don't really know what the future holds. And because of that, you need to make the most of your todays. And so I've really that's come to the forefront of my mind over this past year. So if there's any positive in all that, I would say that's kind of what's come out of this. So I knew at some point the focus of my videos would probably change from my colitis, my colectomy, my ostomy, and my Jpouch to my PSC. And I guess probably I've started to reach that point. I'm sure I'll still discuss the Jpouch things as time goes on with that. But I feel like my posts will probably become less frequent now, unless there's something going on with my Jpouch, and then kind of more focusing on the PSC. I'm still hearing from people that are going through different phases of this. I talked with one girl who had watched my videos. She was failing Remicade. She was steroid dependent with the colitis, and she had sent me some emails back when I was already had my ostomy, and she was considering surgery. And I just got an email from her that she actually had her colon removed. She opted for a permanent ostomy, and she is very happy with it. And it's really fulfilling to hear these stories from people that I've touched in some way, shape, or form, that even if it was, someone else is going through this, I know what to expect, that sort of thing. It's still really good to hear back from anyone out there who's going through any portion of this, because it's not an easy road, and it's good to have others that are going through the exact same thing to bounce things off of. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. As always, if you want, hit me up at my email, ucandpsc@gmail.com. And until we talk again, take care.